as part of the debt limit talks, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce today called for an agreement that includes discretionary spending caps. Does the White House see all spending caps as a negative, or just the spending caps that are part of the House GOP bill?
So I'm going to be very clear here. The president's going to have a conversation with the four leaders, as you all know. That's going to happen in a couple of hours at 4 p.m. local time, clearly. And we're going to stay focused on what Congress needs to be doing here, their congressional duty, which is to prevent a default.
Given the conversation that is happening today, that it is not negotiations, as you have made very clear, how is the president going into this? How is he viewing success in this meeting? What would we consider to be a successful meeting? Is it simply just conveying his message to them and having them receive it?
I mean, look, what we convey as success, I mean, people have asked, well, will the president give Speaker McCarthy an off-ramp, an exit strategy? The exit strategy is very clear. Do your job. Congress must act. Prevent a default. That's what a success, not for him. It's not about the president. It's about the American economy. It's about the American people. That's what the president views as success. That's the way that it should be done. Regular order. This is regular order.
Senator Manchin this morning sharply criticized the president's handling of these debt ceiling talks. He said it's, quote, not rational, it's not reasonable, it's not practical in terms of his refusal to negotiate over raising the debt limit. What's the White House's response to that, and to what extent does it weaken the president's position to not have Democrats in lockstep with him?
It's not rational. It's not rational. It's not reasonable, and it's not practical for Congress to be doing what they're doing. For House Republicans to be holding us up, for threatening default. That is where the problem should be, and that's who should be called out. Speaker McCarthy is going to be here, and he, you know, what we're seeing from House Republicans, from MAGA Republicans, is that they are manufacturing a crisis. That shouldn't be. That shouldn't be.
Given how unified Republicans have been around Speaker McCarthy, do you have any concern about, you know, Democrats not, you know, that there may be some wavering among some Democrats about the president's position on the debt ceiling?
I mean, look, the Democrats have been very clear as well that we need to deal with the debt limit. We've been all very clear about that. So has Leader Jeffries, and so has Leader Schumer.
43 Republican senators signed onto a letter opposing raising the debt ceiling without budget reforms, and 217 members in the House voted for that bill to raise the debt limit with cuts to spending. Does the White House consider all of those members to be dangerous MAGA Republican extremists?
Do they understand what the cuts that they're voting for is going to do? That's the question. I mean, Republicans in Congress, in the House specifically, voted for cuts that's going to hurt American families. I mean, we can't say this enough. 22% cuts to veterans, healthcare, schools. That's what they voted for. That's what, and this is not, okay, but this is not just, this is their constituents. This is what they voted for.
And those constituents that they're voting on behalf of have said that they're concerned about their retirements, about the effects of inflation, and those members represent more than half of the country in the House. I mean, that's the majority of districts in the country, that they're voting on behalf of those constituents who are expressing concern about where the economy is. So I guess, how can the White House continue to use messaging calling this the Default on America Act and paint this legislation in such a way without having a conversation about the budget when you've got half the country saying that they want that conversation?
So House Republicans are threatening a first ever default. They want the president to agree on a plan in its entirety that includes cuts to programs that are incredibly important for the American family, because they want to hold the American economy hostage, because that's what they're saying that they want to do by threatening a default.
Their bill would raise the debt limit. They passed a bill to raise the debt limit. So the conversation...
and I hear you, but they are connecting passing whatever, this debt limit, to cuts, 22% cuts to veterans, to seniors. That's what they are threatening, cuts to our schools. That's what is connecting. That's what their budget plan is.
The bill doesn't have any of appropriations in it, actually. And the speaker has, ruled out a number of those things, including defense, veterans benefits, senior entitlement programs. I mean, you've had Mitt Romney saying that there has to be a conversation here. Is he a MAGA Republican extremist?
What I'm saying is House Republicans have been very clear. They voted on a bill that's going to cut programs that are very important to American families. Law enforcement, cutting programs to law enforcement, cutting program to veteran care, cutting program to our school system. That's what Republicans have voted on. So those are extreme. Those are very extreme. These are things that the American people don't want. Just look at 2022, what they voted for. They voted for to protect their retirement accounts. That's what the American people want to see. And so they're connecting those two. They want the president to agree on its entire agenda of an extreme budget. It is an extreme budget.
So if cutting government spending would help reduce inflation faster, in this meeting today, is the president open to hearing other viewpoints?
So look, as you know, Ed, because you asked me this question many times, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to a priority that the president has for the American people, lowering costs for families is a top priority.